When I was little, I used to love to color with my Aunt Betty. We'd sit for hours coloring in my coloring books. I was always amazed at how perfectly Betty could color within the lines in all her pictures. And as a 5-year-old, 6-year-old, I was always kind of frustrated that I couldn't level up to the standard, to the perfection that she seemed to exhibit. I can remember one time taking an orange crayon. We were coloring in my Donald Duck coloring book. And I can remember intentionally coloring outside the line on a picture that she had already colored so that hers didn't look so much better than mine. Not one of my prouder moments. Why am I telling you this? It's easy on social media to curate an image of perfection for ourselves to express and convey to the world. I'm not perfect. Far from it. I'm going to talk today about starting over. But before I do that, I want to make very clear that any examples that I provide to you of things I've overcome and ways that I've overcome them are not to make me better than somebody else or put me up on some kind of pedestal. I could just as easily make a video of all the times I made my best efforts and came up really, really short and failed miserably. That would be an infinitely longer video. So know that anything that I provide you is showing the best case scenarios of things I went through. There's so many more. Viktor Frankl, survivor of 3 concentration camps during the Second World War, said that everyone has their own Auschwitz. What he meant by that is that suffering is universal. All of us have bad things happen to us. That's part of life. And nobody's experience of hardship or suffering is any more so or less so or more deserving of empathy or less of empathy than anyone else's. Whatever anyone's going through at any given moment is their Auschwitz. And it's important that we recognize that and extend to everyone the same level of empathy. Having said that, I'm going to talk about starting over because I have a little bit of experience in that. I've had multiple health experiences, 2 rounds of cancer. Prior to that, I had a burst appendix that went septic, and in each instance had to rebuild myself from scratch. I've had financial calamities where I've had to rebuild and start over multiple times, and relationship-wise as well. And the thing that has served me most in starting over each time, I think, is in being able to maintain a childlike enthusiasm, if you will, a curiosity. What can I accomplish now? How far can I go? Can I even do this? I'll give you a couple examples. When I was in 12th grade in high school, several of my friends were members of the marching band. I had no musical experience whatsoever. And I wanted to join band with them as basically what they called a manager, which just meant I'd be carrying around equipment. But I thought it would be fun. I'd get to hang out with them. Well, the band director had other ideas for me. He said, we need horn players. I want you to play a trombone. I didn't know how to play an instrument. He says, you'll learn. He gave me a trombone and set me up with lessons. I had maybe a half a dozen lessons, just enough to learn how to actually make any noise whatsoever out of it. Certainly not enough to learn to read music or anything. And then I switched to what were called flugelbones, which are a 3-valve trombone. And they wrote out what the fingering positions were for the songs. And believe it or not, with daily practice and through the course of the band season, by the end of the season, I could play every single song that everyone else played in the band. I was actually a member of the marching band. I was part of something so much bigger than myself. And had I not have had Bill Barber's belief in me, I certainly wouldn't have been able to do it on my own. But I did do it on my own, and it was really cool. Similarly, when I was out of college a few years, I was living on a lake, Canandaigua Lake, a nice recreational resort lake, and I decided to buy myself a jet ski. Bought myself a Kawasaki 550 stand-up jet ski, an absolute power horse on the water. I'd never been on a jet ski before, and on a stand-up one, there's a tremendous amount of coordination required to be able to even get the thing up, because you have to hit full throttle, the thing pulls straight up out of the water, and you have to, in one motion, pull yourself up and be standing. In learning to do that, I banged my knees up mercilessly and tore the knees right out of my wetsuit. But I learned how to do it. And I got really good at it too, and it was a lot of fun. You can let fear dictate to you and prevent you from ever trying anything new. And I'll admit, it doesn't get any easier as we get older or as we get more experienced. With my cancers, for example, and my appendix. When my appendix burst, I had my health completely taken away from me. And it took me a year and a half to get my strength and everything back to where it was. When I had my first cancer with my radical prostatectomy, all right, I know how to rebuild myself. I can do this again. It was a little harder, but I did it. With my second cancer, with my renal cancer, I'd start over again. And while I'd like to say, oh, I get more experience with this, I get better at doing it, it gets easier, it doesn't. If anything, it gets harder, because the first time I had to rebuild myself when my appendix burst, I had no idea what I was up against. I had no idea how long it would take. I just kind of blindly went into it and did the best I could. When I had the prostate cancer surgery, I had a little idea of what was involved, but I thought I could still probably do it. When I had the renal cancer surgery, I knew exactly what it was going to take. And I'll be honest, I didn't know if I was up for the task again. The knowledge of what it was going to take made it a little more daunting. But I did it. Starting over is never easy, but we can all do it. You can do it. Anyone can do it. And if you find yourself in a place in life where you're not where you want, where things aren't what you like, there's no reason to settle. You can always start over. There's always a chance for a better day if you're willing to believe in yourself and to take that step and to take that next step. Little steps. Choose in favor of you. You can do this. I love you all. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.